what's actually happening right now in the global markets is being driven by two major forces: geopolitics and macroeconomics. So I'm guessing this is probably the video that you've all kind of been waiting for. So in this video, we're going to break down some very, very important topics that have recently happened. So it will be what Donald Trump has said and done regarding Iran, why the recent ceasefire matters, key crypto developments happening right now, and finally, a full Bitcoin market outlook, including some liquidity levels and what to expect. So without further ado, let's crack straight into it. So Trump and Iran, what has actually just happened? So if you don't know, over the past few weeks, tensions between the US and Iran escalated significantly. So there were real fear factors for a broader war, especially as military threats intensified. So what happened is, at the peak of escalation, Trump made one of the most controversial statements, warning that Iran could face destruction on a massive scale, even suggesting that a whole civilization could die. You can see exactly what I'm talking about right here. So that would actually happen if those demands weren't met. So he also reportedly discussed targeting critical infrastructure, things like power stations and national logistics. So this triggered a very large backlash from military experts concerned about violations of international law and serious fear in the global markets. So once this came out yesterday, I was actually pretty shocked. Like, the statement here is not something you see. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen something this harsh. I mean, on my 20, 20-ish years of living. So he says, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want it to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have a complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary wonderful can happen. Who knows? And then, yeah, he pretty much goes on 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death finally ends. God bless great people all around. So pretty much he just says he's going to blow it up. I mean, last night I was shitting myself. I thought, he's gonna blow it up. Iran's gonna be like, oh, we're gonna die anyway. Let's just blow the whole planet up. So, I was slightly concerned. Anyway, then there was a sudden shift where Trump announced a 2-week ceasefire agreement with Iran. So he said US would pause military action for 2 weeks while negotiations take place. So this was a major turning point. So Iran agreed to de-escalate. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical oil route, was reopened and markets stabilized temporarily. So after this, Trump claimed that the US had achieved total and complete victory. But the key point is that this is not some kind of peace deal, it's just like a pause. What does this actually mean for the market? So this situation is extremely important because the war risks impact oil, inflation, and global liquidity. And then political rhetoric can move markets instantly, and uncertainty creates volatility across crypto and equities. So right now, everything depends on what happens next. And now the next major catalyst is negotiations happening on April the 10th in Pakistan. So this could determine whether the ceasefire extends or conflict resumes. And importantly, negative rhetoric could return here, which may impact markets sharply. And now on the crypto side, the market is currently reacting to macro conditions more than anything else. So some key things happening right now is that Bitcoin demand is structurally strong. Institutional interest remains present and liquidity positioning is becoming clearer. But the biggest driver short term is macro data. And as for tomorrow, we get GDP data and PCE inflation data. So these are very critical because they show inflation has been slowing, and if that trend continues, markets may shift slightly bullish. However, this could lead to a short-term pump, followed by a reversal later in the week, especially if these geopolitical tensions return on April 10th. And now let's talk Bitcoin. Right now, the chart shows an untapped buy-side liquidity sat around 76k, but also a large liquidity cluster below. So the key side down range is 59 to 63k. So this is extremely important because market is tend to move toward liquidity, and that lower range remains a strong magnet. So what you're looking at here is a 2-year bid versus ask ratio on the spot market. So bid is limit buy orders, meaning long interest, whereas ask are limit sell orders, short interest. So what we see here is that in 2024, before Bitcoin moved to all-time highs, sell orders, aka ask, declined, whereas buy orders, aka bid, increased. So right now, we're seeing a very similar pattern forming again. So what does this actually mean? This suggests that there is a real demand for Bitcoin. The market may be near a macro bottom, and overall, sentiment is structurally bullish. But, and this is critical, this is only a D60 depth chart. So it means that it reflects a long-term structural picture, but not a short-term trade setup. So the impact of this data could play out from 2 weeks to 2 months. So short term is volatile and news driven, while medium term is potentially bullish. So to summarize everything, Trump escalated tensions with extreme rhetoric, then suddenly announced a 2-week ceasefire. And then the next key event is the 10th of April with negotiations in Pakistan. Macro data tomorrow could drive a short-term bullish move, but volatility is likely to return later in the week. And as for Bitcoin, 70k is the upside liquidity target, and 59k to 63k is a major downside target. So structurally bullish, but short-term uncertain. So right now, we're in a market driven by headlines. So watch out for that April 10th, and we'll obviously see what happens then. The macro data and the political rhetoric. So because that's what will decide this next move. So just before we wrap up, if you're trading in these kinds of volatile conditions, the platform I personally use is Evedex. It's a fully decentralized platform that gives you full control over your funds and lets you quickly react to market moves without relying on centralized platforms. So it's definitely worth checking out if you're active on the market right now. So make sure you drop a like and subscribe to stay up to speed with the latest videos. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.